Hey, I'm Kylie, and I wanted to talk about how I changed my life. Now, it's taken me a few days to review my upload quality, and I debated on it being perfect and going completely off my scripts that I created based off of my notes and research. But I think it's more important that the message I have gets out instead of trying to perfect it. So I'm going to go over what motivation is today and my notes on that. So for reference, this is what my notes look like. Free papers, notebooks, non-linear note-taking, basically. And part of healing and changing my life has been trying to heal from perfectionism, and it's still there, right? Because you want everything that you work on to turn out perfectly to get the best results. That's how I see it. But that's not always how things work. And part of changing my life has been trying to heal from perfectionism. So I'm going to go over my notes from my motivation cycle, and we'll just break it down in each video. Today, I'm going to talk about what motivation is and what the components of the motivation cycle are. This is going to help you identify the kind of motivation that actually works for you. So what actually is motivation? Motivation is an internal or external drive that causes us to take action. It's not just a magical feeling that we get. So let's go over the three components of motivation. The first one is activation. This is the initial spark that you have. It's usually recognized by a thought or idea. So if you think, I'm going to go to the gym today, or I'm going to start that business, that's a key indicator that you've already started the activation process of motivation. And we'll get into the rest of that now, but activation is just the decision to start a behavior. The second component of the motivation cycle is persistence. A lot of people call this discipline, and that's why people say motivation and discipline go hand in hand. So persistence is the effort that you continuously put in towards a goal. It's something that you continually put effort into. The third component of the motivation cycle is intensity. This is the mental and emotional energy that you give towards an action. Some days it's low, some days it's high, and that's normal. Intensity is like the concentration of like the feeling that you put towards a goal. So motivation comes from two main places. The first one is extrinsic. That's all the outside forces around you motivating you to accomplish a task or a goal. And then you have intrinsic motivation. That's something that comes from within you, and it's usually driven by personal meaning or feelings like joy. So what are some common sources of motivation? The first one is, like I mentioned, joy. It's when you feel genuinely good for doing something. The second one is compensation, and that's when you get a reward, financial or otherwise, to complete something. And then you have curiosity. That's when you just have that inherent need to learn and understand and explore something. So you have to solve a problem. Then we have purpose. Purpose is your deep inner alignment with your values. This one's really a game changer. This is where I did a lot of my work, is in purpose. And in the next video, I'm going to talk about core values. And the last one is achievement. That's when you have a desire to prove to yourself or others that you can do it. Most of us are a mix of all of these. This led to burnout and task paralysis. So how did I fix it? I identified my intrinsic motivators and started practicing implementing them into my motivation cycle. Now that sounds really easy, like just changing a part out in a machine, but when you've been operating a certain way your whole life, it takes time and practice to make change. So what are the negative motivators that I noticed in my motivation cycle? The first one is all or nothing thinking. And this is part of the perfectionism that I was talking about, is if it's not perfect, I can't do it. And it really kept me in a state of task paralysis where I wouldn't even initiate a task because I knew that if it wasn't perfect, it wasn't going to be right. And then it wasn't even worth pursuing to complete. That fear that I had from not being able to do it perfectly created a lot of anxiety for me. And that's when my body would get a dump of adrenaline. And so if I had to complete a task that actually just needed to be done and it wasn't just goal chasing, I would use that adrenaline dump to activate my motivation cycle and then push through getting the task done through fear. And the task would be completed, but then I would have to recover for days from the stress that I induced on myself because of working within a negative motivation cycle. So one of the ways I fixed this was after I had identified my core values and I looked at what I am naturally inclined to be motivated by is curiosity. So curiosity actually is my spark and center, and that is how I initiate all my cycles of motivation and I apply it to all of my goals. It was really hard at first, but now it's very natural, and the reward I get from actually working in a positive motivation cycle is the ease that comes with doing something that aligns with you. So what I mean by that is once I'm not pushing through the fear and anger anymore and like really trudging through the mud, as you would say, I was making it easier for myself to complete a task, and the fear of being perfect dissipated. Now, I do want to be clear that motivation is not just about having high energy all the time. It's about understanding what drives you and what aligns with your core values. In my next video, I'm going to talk about core values, the resources that I use to identify mine, and how knowing them completely transforms how you show up for yourself. So if this sparks something in you and you are interested in improving your motivation cycle, I've created a motivation cycle worksheet, and I'm going to put it in the description box below, and that's going to give you the clarity you need to make the changes in your life. If this helped you reframe how you think about the motivation cycle, go ahead and follow along, and I'm going to help you change yours so that you can change your life. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.